Hey guys, welcome to the Bitcoin Fortress podcast, helping you increase your financial freedom. This is episode 138, recorded here on October 20th, 2024. This podcast is for entertainment only and not investing advice, so please do your own homework. All right, well, we'll go through the market update outlook, get through the weekly top Bitcoin news, and then finish up with featured post on the Bitcoin Fortress Substack. So let's jump right in. The benchmark S&P 500 index on Friday notched a 6-week win streak, its longest weekly advance of 2024. It also notched its 46th and 47th record close of the year. Meanwhile, it was a historic week for the venerable Dow Jones Industrial Average. The blue chip gauge surpassed the 43,000 points mark for the first time ever while posting its 37th through 40th record close of the year. With the third year of Wall Street's bull run kicking off, markets continue to march upward. This week's advance was driven by a combination of strong earnings, a continued rotation into all corners of the market, a robust retail sales report, and increased hopes that the Federal Reserve would be able to deliver a soft landing. Tech sector went through a bit of a roller coaster following contrasting quarterly results from two high-profile companies. Dutch computer chip equipment supplier ASML on Tuesday sent shivers through chip stocks after missing quarterly bookings expectations. However, just 2 days later, sentiment in the chip space sharply reversed course after Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, the world's largest contract chip maker, announced a blowout quarterly report and reinvigorated the artificial intelligence trade. Financials continued to advance after Morgan Stanley joined peers JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs in delivering results that showed a rebound in investment banking and deal-making activity in the quarter. Finally, Netflix cheered investors by easily topping profit and subscriber growth expectations. The earnings season becomes a deluge next week, with some of the world's biggest and most well-known firms announcing their financials, including electric vehicle giant Tesla. For the week, the S&P 500 added 0.9%, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 0.8%. The blue chip Dow rose 1%. Looking ahead, Wall Street's focus next week will be almost entirely on the earnings season, which will turn into a deluge of reports from high-profile names. Some of the biggest companies in the world will be announcing their results, including electric vehicle leader Tesla, troubled plane maker Boeing, telecom giant Verizon, industrial heavyweights such as GE Aerospace and Honeywell, economic bellwether UPS, and consumer behemoths such as Coca-Cola and Philip Morris. Tesla in particular will receive a lot of attention, especially after its recent, highly anticipated robotaxi reveal disappointed investors. Aside from the earnings season, the economic calendar is fairly busy next week. Market participants will receive flash PMI readings on manufacturing and the services sector, durable goods orders, some housing market data, and the Federal Reserve's Beige Book on regional economic activity. All right, jumping into the weekly top Bitcoin news, we'll start with Hodler's Digest. This is for October 13th through 19th from Cointelegraph. Former United States President Donald Trump's token launch was something of a flop. On October 16th, former United States President Donald Trump launched his World Liberty Financial Token. The token's website claimed it would allow investors to gain voting rights over a future decentralized finance protocol. However, after nearly a full day of trading, the token's sales were tepid. As of 10 a.m. UTC on October 17th, the token's website showed that only 848.63 million WLFI, $12.7 million worth based on the presale price, had been sold, leaving an additional 19.1 billion coins, or $287 million, unsold. The amount sold on the first day constituted just 4.24% of the total. A few reasons may explain why the token flopped. Unlike most cryptocurrencies, WLFI cannot be transferred from one wallet to another. This means that accredited investors cannot sell the token to non-accredited ones, nor can anyone outside the US sell it to a US resident. Furthermore, despite selling only a few hundred million tokens, the website could not handle even this small amount of traffic. Some users reported that they were met with a "this page isn't working" message when they attempted to buy tokens. Not a shocker. It's a shitcoin. U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs see 556 million inflows in biggest day since June. More than $500 million. Wow. The 11 ETFs saw aggregate net inflows of $555.9 million on October 14th, their largest daily net inflow since early June, according to data from Farside Investors. The big day came as Bitcoin hit a 2-week high of 66,500 in late trading. The ETF store president Nate Geraci called it a monster day for spot Bitcoin ETFs, adding that they were now approaching $20 billion in net inflows over the past 10 months. Simply ridiculous and blows away every pre-launch demand estimate, he said in an October 15th X post. This is not degen retail, it is advisors and institutional investors continuing to slowly adopt. The Fidelity-Wise Bitcoin Origin Fund, FBTC, was the leader of the pack with an inflow of $239.3 million, its highest since June 4th. Senator Elizabeth Warren and crypto lawyer John Deaton exchanged blows over crypto policy in their first debate of the race for a seat as a United States Senator from Massachusetts. Deaton, a Republican candidate, called out Democrat rival and incumbent Warren during the October 15th debate for focusing on building an anti-crypto army instead of prioritizing other issues impacting the lower middle class in the state. With illegal immigration bankrupting the state, with inflation pricing regular people out of the economy, why did this senator wake up one day and say, "With all that, I will build an anti-crypto army," Deaton said. Warren claims she's fine with people who want to buy and sell crypto, but want to ensure the industry follows the same rules as banks and stockbrokers, namely consumer protection and counterterrorism laws. 25-year-old man from Athens, Alabama was arrested by the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation for hacking the Securities and Exchange Commission's official X account in January. According to an October 17 statement, Eric Council Jr. was taken into custody following charges of conspiracy to commit aggravated identity theft and access device fraud. According to federal authorities, Council is accused of being part of a group that hacked the SEC's X account in January 2024 and posted a fake message on January 9th claiming that the SEC had approved the first Bitcoin exchange-traded funds in the United States. The fake announcement caused Bitcoin's price to spike by over $1,000 following the X post, leading to further shockwaves in markets. On October 18th, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission approved applications from the New York Stock Exchange and the Chicago Board Options Exchange to list the long-anticipated options for spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds. Options trading will now be available for the 11 approved ETF providers on the NYSE, including Fidelity-Wise Origin Bitcoin Fund, ARC21 Shares Bitcoin ETF, Invesco Galaxy Bitcoin ETF, Franklin Bitcoin ETF, Van Eck Bitcoin Trust, Wisdom Tree Bitcoin Fund, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, Grayscale Bitcoin Mini Trust, Bitwise Bitcoin ETF, BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, and Valkyrie Bitcoin Fund. The Chicago Board Options Exchange also filed an application to list options for the spot Bitcoin ETF providers in August 2024 through a proposed rule change. This change in regulatory policy puts Bitcoin ETF options in the same category as other commodity-based ETFs, which the SEC approved to be listed on the CBOE, with the exception of Grayscale's Bitcoin Mini Trust. Bitcoin is technically on track to hit $233,000, and that could come as early as Q1 2025. A new BTC price forecast, X Analytics account Bitcoin Data 21, Use the relative strength index to predict six figures for BTC USD. Bitcoin price action is currently consolidating around 65,000, but forthcoming months have the potential to revolutionize the market. Applying standard deviation to monthly RSI, Bitcoin Data 21 suggests that the top of the current bull market may equate to about $250,000. This is possible by referencing historical highs in monthly RSI readings, which correspond to blow-off tops on BTC USD. The top of the trend channel for monthly RSI is around 88.6 in Q1 2025. Bitcoin Data 21 said if you're expecting it not to get hit, then you believe this time is different. A new wave of scam emails is targeting Ledger users and attempting to steal their crypto holdings. The scam emails aim to convince users to activate a security feature called Ledger Clear Signing by October 31st so they can continue using their Ledger device. The emails, sent from addresses not associated with Ledger, direct users to a malicious link to activate the fake security feature. The phishing email says to continue using your Ledger's device securely, activating clear signing is mandatory starting November 1st, 2024. This feature is essential in protecting your assets from phishing attacks and fraudulent activities that are becoming more sophisticated. So watch out for phishing emails. Chainalysis is being sued by Exceptional Media Limited, the company behind the Yield Nodes blockchain investment project. According to legal documents filed by Exceptional Media, Chainalysis erroneously labeled its Yield Nodes project an investment scam. Exceptional Media seeks at least $650 million in damages, citing harm to its reputation and client base. It also alleges malicious intent. In the time since its initial filing, Chainalysis' legal team has filed numerous motions to dismiss. According to Chainalysis, Exceptional Media and Yield Notes failed to establish that Yield Notes project isn't a scam or to provide any refutation of Chainalysis' allegations. Per a court document filed by Chainalysis' legal team, the complaint fails to allege falsity. And that about wraps up Hodler's Digest. Moving on, we will jump into Block 866393. Important news of the week from No BS Bitcoin. Tor project donations up to $300,000 will be matched 1-for-1 until 2025. Now is a great time to give and spread the word about the Tor project because through the end of the year, all donations will be matched by our supporters at Power Up Privacy. That means when you donate $25, you're making a $50 impact, announced the project. And of course, Tor is a great way to be anonymous on the internet. OpenSats grants long-term support for GreenArt 7c3. GreenArt 7c3 is the creator and lead developer of Citrine, an Android-based Nostr relay that serves both as a local relay and a shared database, and Amber, an Android-based Nostr signer utilizing NIP46. With this grant, GreenArt 7c3 will focus on extending their cross-platform usability beyond Android devices. Spiral renews grant to Will Clark. Clark is a Bitcoin Core contributor who focuses on issue and PR triage, contributing fixes, user support, PR reviews, and production of associated developer onboarding initiatives, such as Bitcoin Core Academy. We'll get into this one a little later, but Italy to hike Bitcoin capital gains tax to 42%. This proposal accompanies the country's aim to generate 0.2% of its gross domestic product, translating to $4.35 billion by 2025. The new budget measures are still awaiting approval from the Italian parliament. Fifth Circuit rules ISP should have terminated internet users accused of piracy. Music publishers won a court case against Grande Communications, a broadband provider, for not terminating accounts accused of piracy. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit upheld Grande's liability for contributory copyright infringement, but ordered a new trial due to the excessive $46.8 million damages initially rewarded. Norway protects universal ability to pay with cash. Starting October 1st, Norway requires all businesses except medical offices and public transport to accept cash payments up to 20,000 kroner, or $1,850, for security and older people's needs. Crime pays when you're a banker. Last week, TD Bank agreed to pay over $3 billion in penalties to the U.S. government for Bank Secrecy Act violations related to drugs, bribes, and human trafficking. I thought they were all using crypto. Oh well. This is the largest fine ever for BSA violations, but amounts to less than 1% of the bank's revenue from 2013 to 2023, the period during which the violations occurred, reports The Rage. And they have a nice chart showing how much revenue they made and the little teeny slice that 1% fine is. So that's good business, I guess. Break the law, pay a fine. Don't go out of business. Certainly don't end up in jail. Digital asset adoption to hit 8% by 2025. According to a Matrixport report, global cryptocurrency adoption is nearing a significant milestone, with 7.51% of the world's population now using digital currencies. 7.5% of Salvadorians use Bitcoin for transactions. A study by Francisco Gavidia University found that 7.5% of El Salvador citizens use Bitcoin for everyday transactions. Conducted in September, the survey involved 1,224 participants, predominantly aged 18 to 29, reports Atlas 21. Nearly half of hedge funds are dabbling in digital assets. According to the Global Crypto Hedge Fund Report, 47% of hedge funds trading in traditional markets had exposure to digital assets, up from 29% in 2023 and 37% in 2022. Among those funds already invested, 67% plan to maintain the same level of exposure, while the rest plan to invest more by the end of 2024. Bitcoin is the sixth largest monetary asset in the world. Matthew Mazinkis of Porkopolis Economics shared the latest ranking of top monetary assets worldwide. And there's more details available here, and they have a link. And there'll be a link to this article, as with everything else I go over, in the show notes. Looks like number 1 is gold. Number 2 is the US dollar. Number 3 is the Eurozone euro. Number 4 is the Chinese yuan. Number 5 is the Japanese yen. Number 6 is Bitcoin. And then the UK sterling, and then silver, and then the Swiss franc, and then the Indian rupee, Russian ruble, Hong Kong dollar, and number 13 is the Australian dollar. That's all based on the US dollar value. And there's different metrics, like for gold, it's all-time ounces mined, and for the currencies, it's the monetary base, and then for Bitcoin, it's the outstanding supply market cap, and so on and so forth. So quite an interesting article, maybe worth a closer look. Mayor of Rockdale, Bitcoin saved the town's economy. Bitcoin mining revitalized Rockdale's economy by injecting over $1 billion into the area, supporting local causes and creating over 22,000 jobs. Additionally, Bitcoin companies donated to local scholarships, youth sports, and supported police and fire departments, as well as community events, including the annual Christmas tree lighting. Mt. Gox postpones repayment deadline to 2025. The trustee overseeing Mt. Gox's assets has deferred the distribution deadline for remaining assets to creditors until October 31st, 2025, as announced in a statement on the Mt. Gox website. New Bitcoin sextortion claims use pictures of victims' homes. Protos reports that fraudsters are increasingly using publicly available information, such as passwords, addresses, phone numbers, and social media accounts, along with other sensitive details from third-party data breaches to appear legitimate. The latest scams even include Google Maps Street View pictures to trick victims into believing that scammers are outside their homes. Wow, that's a little scary. Craig Wright files lawsuit against Bitcoin Core and Square. The UK High Court case tracker indicates that Wright, himself representing himself, filed a lawsuit on October 10th. According to the documents, Wright accuses Bitcoin Core and Square of falsely presenting Bitcoin as the genuine version of the cryptocurrency. He's just like a bad penny, and he will not go away. The FBI arrests SEC hacker who posted fake Bitcoin ETF approval. Heard about this later. We'll talk about this later. We already talked about it, so we all know what happened there. Chainalysis argues for dismissal of defamation suit. We talked about this too. The black box surveillance firm has allegedly falsely classified a crypto project as the second largest crypto scam in its 2023 crypto crime report without any evidence of wrongdoing. This is a problem. There's a little too much faith in these black box surveillance tools, and it just sets a dangerous precedent when everybody believes them, because what if they're wrong? If they were open source, you might actually know whether or not their algorithm's accurate or not. Blockstream raises $210 million via convertible notes. The Bitcoin infrastructure company has completed a $210 million convertible note financing round led by Folger Ventures. The funds will be used to fast-track the adoption and development of Blockstream's Layer 2 technologies, expand mining activities, and increase Bitcoin treasury holdings. Blockstream Mining Notes 2 Series 4 is live. The notes are now open for eligible investors on Stoker Digital Marketplace. There's a link there. The sale will run until Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024, unless sold out sooner. You can track its live progress here, and there's a link. Samara Asset Group to issue $32.8 million bond to buy Bitcoin. The proceeds will allow Samara to further expand and solidify its already robust balance sheet as we diversify into new emerging technologies through new fund investments. With Bitcoin as our primary treasury reserve asset, we also enhance our liquidity position with bond proceeds, Patrick Lowry, CEO of Samara, was quoted as saying. Mara secures $200 million line of credit with Bitcoin collateral. The miner announced securing a $200 million line of credit from an undisclosed source using part of its Bitcoin holdings as collateral. The funds will be used for strategic opportunities and general corporate purposes. The Miner Mag estimates the collateral to be approximately 4,000 Bitcoin. Metaplanet doubles its Bitcoin holdings in October. Metaplanet's latest Bitcoin purchase brings its total holdings to 855.5 Bitcoin, worth more than $56.1 million. Tesla moved its Bitcoin to unknown wallets. The company moved all of its 11,509 Bitcoin, worth about $770 million, to new addresses that are not linked to any known entities. The reason for the wallet transfers is not clear. Venmo and MoonPay integration for U.S. users. Venmo customers can now use their account balance, a direct bank withdrawal, or debit card to fund Bitcoin and altcoin purchases on MoonPay. This functionality is not available to MoonPay users in New York or Texas. Arc Labs partners with Boltz. The collaboration aims to enable seamless, cheaper, and faster off-chain Lightning liquidity management using the Arc node interface. Using virtual swaps, we can close Lightning's liquidity loop by providing participants with an interface to batch their channel management operations off-chain. We anticipate many infrastructure providers will find interesting ways to leverage the efficiency of Arc swaps, and we encourage anyone interested to reach out, said the company. Bitcoin hash price rebounds by 34% since all-time lows. The network's hash price has recovered to $50 per petahash per second after nearly 60 days, driven by renewed bullish sentiment and a surge in network fees, reports the Miner Mag. Bitcoin eCash edition talks. Bitcoin took place in Berlin on October 11th through the 13th, 2024. Check out some of the available talks and workshops here, and there is a link. And finally, Lugano Plan B Forum to take place on October 25th and 26th. The key Bitcoin conference in Switzerland is back in the city of Lugano. Get your tickets here, and there's a link. Next up, from Bitcoin.com news, this was updated today. BRICS summit to far surpass U.S. presidential election in global importance, Russian official claims. Russian Federation Council Speaker Valentina Matvienko has emphasized that the upcoming BRICS summit, rather than the U.S. presidential election, will be the crucial event that will shape the future of global history. In a post on her Telegram channel, Matvienko argued that the world has changed significantly and made it clear that the U.S. election would not hold the same influence over the world community as Washington might hope. She was quoted by TASS as stating, "The upcoming U.S. presidential elections will not be the most important event of the year for the world community and will not determine the further course of history. No matter how much Washington would like it to be, the BRICS summit will be that event." Matvienko went on to highlight that the changes taking place are objective and irreversible processes. Additionally, she underscored the significance of the summit's high-level representation and the increasing number of membership applications as indicators that truly responsible leaders of sovereign states are aware of BRICS' growing importance. She further asserted, "I am sure that news from Russia will be followed on all continents." BRICS, originally formed in 2006 by Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and later joined by South Africa in 2011, is now expanding further. In January, Egypt, Iran, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Ethiopia became full members of the group. This expansion comes during Russia's presidency of BRICS. The main event of Russia's presidency will be the BRICS summit in Kazan, scheduled for October 22nd through 24th. In the meantime, the U.S. presidential election is slated for November 5th. Matvienko also noted, "I believe that in 2024, the vector of human development will be established in Kazan and not in the wavering United States. The 3 days of the BRICS summit and the negotiations of the leaders of the world majority in the capital of Tatarstan will have a decisive influence on our future," she opined. Russia's State Duma Speaker Vyacheslav Volodin said, "BRICS is challenging the dominance of Washington and Brussels as more nations seek equal partnerships prioritizing their interests." Volodin noted a global shift away from alliances with the U.S. and its allies, favoring cooperation that respects sovereignty and mutual benefit. BRICS countries are increasingly using national currencies, with 65% of transactions now conducted in local currencies, while the US dollar and euro account for less than 30%, indicating efforts to reduce reliance on Western financial systems, a trend driven by sanctions and geopolitical tensions. So the multipolar world is on its way, it seems. Next up, from Crypto Potato, this was updated today. U.S. authorities arrest man responsible for fake SEC Bitcoin ETF approval tweet. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into that one. The United States Federal Bureau of Investigation has arrested an individual responsible for posting a fake tweet announcing the Securities and Exchange Commission's approval of the spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds earlier this year. They charged 25-year-old Eric Council with conspiracy to commit aggravated identity theft and access device fraud. While the crypto community heavily anticipated the SEC's approval of the first U.S. spot Bitcoin ETF on January 9th, Council got hold of the agency's X account and posted a fake announcement that the products had been approved for trading. The news caused Bitcoin's price to rally $1,000 to $47,800 within minutes. However, the asset quickly lost $2,000 and fell to $45,400 after the SEC debunked the tweet, revealing that hackers had compromised its X account and made the unauthorized post. Now, of course, if you're just holding your Bitcoin, you don't care about these types of things. But if you're a trader, if you're leveraged long or leveraged short, you're very sad because you probably got blown right out of your position. Upon investigation by several U.S. agencies, authorities found that counsel and his co-conspirators gained control of the SEC's account via a subscriber identity module or SIM swap attack. Uh-oh. A SIM swap involves combining social engineering tactics to transfer a phone number from a SIM card belonging to a victim to another SIM card controlled by cyber criminals. This enables the hackers to exploit weaknesses in security procedures like two-factor authentication and gain access to victims' accounts and private information. Still kind of blows me away that the government got SIM swapped. I mean, you could see an individual happening to individuals. Obviously, happens to people all the time, but I guess nobody's immune to that. A complaint by the U.S. Attorney's Office accused counsel of using the stolen identity of a person who had access to the SEC's X account to take over their phone number. Counsel, who also goes by the online pseudonyms Ronan, Easy Money, and A Giant Schnauzer. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. Allegedly obtained the SEC employee's personal identifying information from his co-conspirators. The defendant then used the PII to create a fake ID, which he used to conduct the SIM swap at a cell phone provider store in Huntsville, Alabama. Counsel subsequently purchased a new iPhone and used the new SIM card and the mobile device to obtain access codes to the SEC's X account. After posting the fake tweet, counsel allegedly received Bitcoin payment from his co-conspirators for a job well done and eventually returned the iPhone for cash. Notably, counsel became paranoid after the incident and conducted internet searches for how to know if I am being investigated by the FBI. He is expected to appear in court in the Northern District of Alabama on Thursday. Well, the great eye sees all, and so you have to be pretty good to cover your tracks these days. Better not to mess around. That's what I say. Anyway, moving on. This from BitcoinNews.com, a little bit deeper dive into Italy to raise Bitcoin tax to 42% because the phenomenon is spreading. Italy is set to increase its capital gains tax on Bitcoin and other digital assets from 26% to 42%, a move that has sent shockwaves through both local and international Bitcoin markets. The announcement made by Deputy Finance Minister Mauricio Leo during an October 16th conference forms part of a larger budget plan aimed at raising additional revenue for public services and curbing the country's fiscal deficit. The decision has ignited strong reactions from Bitcoin investors and industry leaders, many of whom are worried about its potential consequences for Italy's digital economy. Currently, Italy imposes a 26% tax on capital gains on revenues made from Bitcoin trades and investments. However, under the new proposal, the tax would be raised to 42%. The sharp increase targets larger investors and high-value transactions as part of Italy's broader fiscal strategy. The digital services tax now targets companies with annual global revenues of at least 750 million euros, or $817 million, and at least 5.5 million euros, or $5.9 million, in income from digital services provided in Italy, Leo explained during his announcement. As this phenomenon, Bitcoin, is spreading, we expect the withholding tax to increase from 26% to 42%. The government justifies the decision by pointing to the increasing popularity of Bitcoin among Italian investors. With more people turning to digital assets, Italy sees this as an opportunity to generate additional tax revenue to fund public services such as healthcare and support for the most vulnerable populations. The proposed tax hike has sparked concern among Italy's Bitcoin community and broader market observers. Many worry that the 42% tax rate will make Italy one of the most heavily taxed countries in Europe for Bitcoin investments. Bitcoin users have expressed fears that this increase could stifle growth in the sector and push investors to move their assets to other countries with more favorable tax policies. Bing, bing, bing. The CEO of Tether, Paolo Ardoino, was particularly vocal about the potential consequences of the tax increase. He shared his criticism on social media, with a hint of sarcasm suggesting that many Bitcoin investors would consider leaving Italy for countries with friendlier tax environments. How dare Italians use Bitcoin as a protection or a hedge against Italian financial policies, Arduino commented sarcastically, hinting at the frustration many in the Bitcoin space feel. There is concern that this tax increase could lead to an exodus of Bitcoin investors from Italy. Similar tax hikes in other countries, such as India, have resulted in significant drops in trading volumes as investors turn to offshore platforms to avoid the high tax burdens. The proposed tax rate comes at a time when the European Union is preparing to implement the Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation, a set of rules aimed at creating a unified regulatory framework for digital assets across the EU. Italy's decision to raise its capital gains tax on Bitcoin aligns with the broader trend of increased regulation in this space. While MiCA focuses on improving transparency and consumer protection in the market, Italy's new tax policy targets high-value investors and large-scale Bitcoin transactions. The Italian government hopes that these measures will help boost the country's revenue while aligning with European standards for regulating digital assets. While the tax hike is aimed at raising revenue for the government, there are concerns about its potential impact on Italy's digital economy. Critics argue that the 42% tax rate may discourage new investors from entering the market and prompt existing ones to move their operations to countries with lower tax rates. If Bitcoin investors seek out more favorable jurisdictions, Italy could lose a significant amount of capital and innovation in the digital space. According to industry observers, Italy's decision could influence other European countries as they consider how to tax digital assets. Should Italy's approach prove successful in generating revenue, other nations may follow suit with similar tax policies. However, some countries may opt to take the opposite route, promoting more favorable tax environments to attract Bitcoin investors. One key concern is that the increased tax load will make Italy less competitive compared to other European countries with more lenient tax policies. This could lead to a brain drain with both talent and investment leaving Italy for more Bitcoin-friendly nations. The announcement followed the Italian government's approval of a 30 billion euro or $33 billion budget for 2025, which will be partially financed by a tax on Italian banks and insurance companies. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has previously reassured citizens that there would be no widespread tax hikes under her leadership. However, the new Bitcoin tax plan has drawn criticism from some who feel it contradicts her earlier promises. Despite the government appears committed to its broader fiscal goals, which include raising 3.5 billion euros from banks and insurance companies to support public services. In an ex post on October 15th, Meloni reiterated her government's focus on directing funds toward healthcare and vulnerable citizens, highlighted her government's commitment to not raising taxes on citizens. As Italy moves forward with its plan to increase the capital gains tax on Bitcoin, the effects of this decision will likely be felt across the European Bitcoin landscape. Whether Italy's tax strategy succeeds in raising the intended revenue without driving away investors remains to be seen. For now, the proposal has left many Bitcoin enthusiasts and investors reconsidering their options. Yeah, so, well, I guess the first thing you would do is you probably wouldn't want to sell your Bitcoin. You would maybe try to borrow against it if you needed money. That's not taxable. And then, yeah, you can always leave. It's very easy to leave when you own Bitcoin because Bitcoin is not in any account anywhere. It's everywhere and it's nowhere. So you could go to El Salvador, you could go to just about anywhere else that doesn't have a 42% tax on Bitcoin transactions. That's ridiculous. I feel for you folks there in Italy on that one. Okay, next up is from Bitcoinist.com. It's kind of an interesting article as it relates to the options approvals. So the article is entitled, let's see, this was posted today. Bitcoin ETF liquidity to increase following SEC's options approval, QCP reveals. Following the approval of options trading on BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, exchange traded fund, on NASDAQ, it was only a matter of time until the United States Securities and Exchange Commission authorized ETF options trading on other exchanges. On Friday, October 18th, the Commission permitted the New York Stock Exchange, the Chicago Board Options Exchange to offer options trading for several spot Bitcoin ETFs. And we went through it's the whole list, all 11 of them. In a recent report, QCP Capital revealed this notable development could push the growth of the U.S. Bitcoin ETF market by enhancing liquidity. According to the trading firm, the new capacity of exchanges to list and trade options will significantly boost capital influx into the Bitcoin exchange-traded funds. QCP wrote, with this morning's approval by the SEC's approval for Bitcoin ETF options to be listed on the NYSE, we believe this will provide the ETF with the needed liquidity to attract sustainable inflows. ETF options will give investors the right, but not the obligation, to purchase or sell an ETF at a predetermined price and time. This investment choice allows investors to bolster their exposure to an underlying asset while helping to hedge against potential price fluctuations. This latest round of approval for the Bitcoin ETF options trading comes at the perfect time for the crypto products, which have been enjoying substantial attention from investors in recent weeks. According to data from SoSo Value, the U.S. Bitcoin ETFs recorded a total weekly inflow of over $2.13 billion, the highest weekly performance since mid-March. With the options trading about to go live in all the crypto products, the U.S. Bitcoin ETFs are bound to attract new investors, leading to greater demand and stronger inflows. With sustainable ETF inflows, investors could see the price of Bitcoin return to or surpass its March levels. As of now, the price of Bitcoin stands at around $68,180, reflecting a mere 0.2% decline in the last 24 hours. On the weekly time frame, though, the flagship cryptocurrency's value is up by more than 8%. According to QCP, the upcoming presidential elections in the U.S. could bolster investor appetite for risk-on assets like Bitcoin. This will propel risk assets higher and support our uptober narrative, the firm added. So more liquidity, good for institutional investors. I still wouldn't be buying ETFs or options. I would just be humbly buying Bitcoin and stacking in cold storage. But that's just me. Finally, this from Cointelegraph. This was posted today. Tether's USDT hits record $120 billion market cap, flashing an uptober signal. Tether's United States dollar-denominated stablecoin has surpassed the record 120 billion market capitalization for the first time, signaling a potential crypto rally. Tether, the world's largest stablecoin, surpassed the 120 billion mark on October 20th, according to the firm's website, which offers live updates of stablecoin supply. Stablecoins are the main on-ramp between the world of fiat currencies and digital assets. A growing stablecoin supply is often used as a signal to predict an upcoming bull rally, as it suggests that investors are loading up on stablecoins before investing in cryptocurrencies. The growing USDT supply could help catalyze the next Bitcoin rally. In August, Tether minted a $1.3 billion of USDT in 5 days after the Bitcoin price bottomed at a 5-month low of about 49,500 on August 5th. By August 9th, the 1.3 billion USDT helped Bitcoin stage an over 21% recovery to trade at 60,271 from the August 5th market bottom. Tether's growing stablecoin supply could catalyze the next uptober rally, crypto slang for October, because the month is historically bullish for the Bitcoin price. Looking at Tether's treasury flows, a significant portion is being sent to some of the largest centralized exchanges, signaling incoming buying pressure from investors. Arkham Intelligence data shows that during the past 48 hours, Tether's treasury sent over $66 million worth of stablecoins to Binance and over $20 million worth of USDT to the Kraken exchange. Conversely, a lack of stablecoin inflows often leads to a crypto market correction. On August 12th, Bitcoin price fell below the 60,000 psychological mark, staging a near 4% correction as institutions temporarily stopped buying USDT. Based on historical chart patterns, some analysts expect a 3-month Bitcoin rally to 92,000 after September's downtrend. October is historically the second best month for Bitcoin price, with average returns of 21%, second to November, which averages over 46% monthly returns for Bitcoin, according to CoinGlass data. During the previous Bitcoin halving year in 2020, the price rose over 27% in October and over 42% in November in a 6-month rally that lasted until March of 2021. To confirm a potential breakout from its current crab walk, Bitcoin needs to close the week above 68,700, according to popular crypto analyst Rekt Capital. Growing Bitcoin exchange-traded fund flows could contribute to Bitcoin's potential breakout. Bitcoin ETFs surpassed the record 20 billion milestone in total net flows on October 17th, just 10 months after launching. In contrast, it took gold-based ETFs nearly 5 years to cross the same $20 billion milestone. And finally, wanted to highlight this week's featured post on Bitcoin Fortress Substack. The article is entitled The Stoics and Bitcoin, Timeless Wisdom and Modern Money. So another rabbit hole of mine. Check it out. There's a link in the show notes, and if you like what you see, you can subscribe for free. There, I rhymed. Wanted to send a shout out to the weekly top boost on Fountain at God's Death with 537 sats. Thank you, sir. And with that, I will thank you for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please like and leave a comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. You can also follow my Substack. It's at bitcoinfortress.substack.com. And you can follow me on Nostr. My NPub is in the show notes. And with that, I will talk to y'all next week. Bye-bye.